am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Because sometimes I look at what people are accomplishing and I look at the speed that they are seeing things happen in their lives and their businesses, especially with their platforms. I see how when they're tapped into what it is that makes them special, when they're really tapped into that thing that they're supposed to do, it seems like their progress is accelerated. And then I look at where I am and I start to wonder, am I doing something wrong? am I am I out of alignment? Am I missing something? Am I moving in the wrong direction? Like, I need some clarity because it feels like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, if I'm doing what is made for me, if I'm in my lane, why does it feel like I'm progressing so slowly? This is a thought that I had when I was listening to this podcast. The name of the podcast is called God is My Creative Director. And Olamide, she is the founder of Topicals, and she was being interviewed by the host of the podcast. And so I'm listening to her story and I'm seeing how God put everything in place that she needed to be successful and how her business accelerated from 2020 till now, right? And even when you look at the brand and how much she's been able to accomplish in 4 years, you're like, this, there's no way this brand is only 4 years old. Like, that's crazy how much moving in alignment with what you're supposed to do, how quickly it accelerates you and moves you forward. And then the next thought that I had is, am I doing something wrong? Like, because I don't feel like I've seen that type of acceleration. I don't feel like I've seen that type of growth. And when I had that thought, I immediately had to check myself. And the reason why, the biggest reason why, so I had that thought and I immediately had to check myself because I recognized in that moment that that's how quickly there's like this little cloud. There's like this is the smallest of clouds, but it's completely blocking the sun. Oh, let me show you. That was so dramatic. Like, it felt like an eclipse. Why did it make it that dark? That cloud was so small. Anyway, so quickly I went into comparison mode, listening to this person talk about their experience in a business, in their business. And I had to look back and I had to think about all of the different things that I have seen that were indications that I'm moving in the right direction. Whether that was someone signing up for a program that I have, let me be more specific here. When I see people sign up for the Getting Unshy Collective, which is my branding course that helps people to build the brand of their dreams, to get out of their own way, to be bold, to be courageous, and to be a trendsetter. That's one of the biggest things that was revealed to me as my lane. Like, it's my space, it's what I do. And even when I looked up Getting Unshy, which is, this is another sign that I was moving in the right direction. When I looked up the phrase Getting Unshy, I see so much of my content on it. And what that tells me is, I figure out why my eye is watering all of a sudden. The second thing that that tells me is that nobody else is talking about this. No one is talking about this. Like, no one's really talking about getting unshy. Like, there are articles here and there about how to stop being shy or how to be less shy. I've seen things like that, but no one has made the connection to branding and being shy. I am literally the only person that I have heard talk about it, and I'm being recognized for it. That's another sign that I'm moving in the right direction. And then the another thing that I recognize that helped me to see it is that I've had videos, like the first time I really talked about getting unshy and why I had to get unshy, that video ended up going viral. And when it goes viral, especially when it's a piece of content where I'm you touched on something there. And so I'm looking at all of these indicators that I am going and moving in the right direction. I am going and moving in the right direction. And I'm also growing. I am a and one of the most important things that I have to continue to remind myself of, and that I'm going to remind you of, everybody that's watching this video, is that when you are you're building a brand takes time. Like, and I know that sounds like you've heard it before, you're not telling me nothing new, but I think that you have to really remind yourself of it takes time. It literally takes time to build a reputation. It takes time for people to know you. It takes time for your stuff to start to gain traction, and that comes from you being consistent. I know the C word. It comes from the repetition. It comes from the resilience that you have to continue to talk about this thing, even when in the beginning it may seem like no one's really paying attention to it. And it also is something that when we start to look to our left and to our right, and we start comparing ourselves, and we're judging ourselves from the point that we're at compared to the point that someone else is at, and not taking into account the fact that, for one, this is apples and oranges. Okay, that's the first problem. The second problem is that we don't really understand what each person has to go through in order to get to that place that they're in their life, right? And even then, like, this is like a small tangent, but like, what is my measurement of success? Like, how am I really gauging this? Like, is my measurement of success really just money? Is it really just the notoriety? Is it really just the numbers? Like, what am I basing this off of, and what am I working towards, right? And so being aware of all of those things, it reminds me and it encourages me that, for one, I can be excited for someone else's success. Like, genuinely excited and proud of their success without it threatening my progress and where I am. And recognizing that she's on one path, I'm on another path. She's building and moving in her lane, I'm building and moving in mine. And what I'm doing has nothing to do with what she's doing. And I feel like that's how easy it can be to fall into that trap of comparing ourselves, of putting ourselves down, but not even just the disappointment that we feel, but then we start to doubt ourselves. And that's the part where it gets really tricky, because let's say, for instance, that I really let that thought just keep on going. And now I'm sitting here contemplating and saying, well, am I moving in the right direction? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Because I'm not seeing those type of results. I'm not seeing that type of success. Oh my goodness. Like, do I need to switch? Do I need to move? And now I'm out of my lane, because I'm starting to think of all the alternatives, all the things I could do differently, all the ways that I can take what they're doing and make it my own, which is not in and of itself a bad thing, but it is a problem when it starts to take you off what you know is working, especially when you have signs Literally, you have signs that you are moving in the right direction. You just have to keep moving in that direction. And I saw like little, it's like in that, it like smacked me in the face. I was like, wow, that's how quickly comparison can jack you up. Let me make sure this is still okay. We still good. That's how quickly comparison can jack you up. And how if you're not secure in what you're doing, if you're not secure in what you're trying to build and what your mission is, then when things start to look funny, when they start to look a little different than everybody else, when it starts to feel like, wow, this is really moving at a snail pace, that's how easily it can take us out of what we know. And so that brings me back to the question that I asked at the beginning. Am I doing something wrong? And the answer is no. I'm moving in my lane. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And all I got to do is keep moving in it and have the faith that all things are working for my good. Period.